G'day fellas. Today I'm bringing you some action from the Germans. So the Germans at the moment, they're the strongest civilization in the Definitive Edition, and we're going to be doing the strongest strategy with the Germans. Alright, so we've got that treasure and we're picking it up with our settler. The reason why is because we don't want to waste those precious villager seconds, those precious explorer seconds, picking up that treasure because we need to go and build our trade post immediately. So with our build order, we're going to be building a trading post at the beginning of the game every single map. We're going to be aging up with 17 villager population. Our shipment order is going to be 2 settler wagons, 3 settler wagons, 700 wood, 700 gold. From there we can be a little bit more versatile. But the idea in the early game essentially is to maintain villager production, to get our trading post up, to build our house, and to not idle at all. It's very difficult to do. It's only really possible if you get an early food treasure. So fortunately on New England, I've spawned with not only a food treasure in my base, I've spawned with 2 food treasures in my base. So it makes it very easy for me to do this. Often it can mean that when you're doing this strategy that you're going to be delaying your age up. As a consequence, it's not uncommon to age up when you're doing this around 4 minutes 45, 4 minutes 50. But hopefully in this game, because we've got these 2 early treasures, we're going to be able to age up at a competitive time, hopefully about 4:35, 4:36, depending on how much we've got to idle. So the idea is we're going to be putting pressure on our opponent from about the 6th minute. We're going to be getting up an early stable. We're going to be pumping out Ulans. We're going to be trying to idle him as much as possible. So aging up with the quartermaster. With the quartermaster wood, we're going to be able to put down our stable, and also we're going to be able to build 2 houses. In the transition period, we're moving over settlers to wood. So it's important that we don't gather the coin crate until we're aging up in transition. The coin crate, it's useless to us in the first age. So don't waste those villager seconds on gathering that coin crate. We're going to keep that coin crate and we're going to wait until transition. Then we're going to suck it up. As soon as we hit 100 wood, we're dropping down a market straight away. Once we've got our market up, we're going to be researching hunting dogs as well as placer mines. This is going to enable our economy to compete with the Portuguese economy. And it's something that we're going to be doing in every single game, in every single matchup. Primary treasures that we're looking for in the early game are food treasures, and then wood treasures, and then XP treasures. So I've been very fortunate. I've got all 3 of those treasures in and around my base. I wanted to stay for this XP treasure, but I thought it was important that I needed to scout the Portuguese player. I needed to see what they were doing. So once you've reached 125 wood, you're going to transition everybody off wood, and you're going to keep 5 settler wagons on coin, and the remaining settlers, so that's 7 settlers, you're going to keep those on food. So we can see his deck here. He wants to get to the fortress age. He's not mucking about. He doesn't even have, 6 muskets in his deck to defend in the event that we pressure him early. He only is interested in hitting the fortress age. So we're going to try our best to punish him as hard as we can. So after we gather up our wood from the quartermaster, we're making sure that we drop down our stable immediately. Just a single settler wagon. They build very quickly, so we don't need to task any more than that. We're also shipping 3 settler wagons from the home city. We're dropping down 3 houses. And now I can already hear you saying, but Drongo, you gathered 125 wood. You were going to get steel traps for that. And you're 100% right. The only thing is, because with Germans, we're going to be getting so many Ulans in the early game, we need to save that 25 wood that we've got left over. And once we get our 700 wood shipment, then we'll be getting steel traps. We can't afford to do it now. If we had got steel traps already, we wouldn't be populated right now. We're already 45 out of 50. So it's a very difficult timing to try and meet by getting steel traps early. So it's much better to get steel traps a little bit later, and then you avoid going idle. You avoid idling your military as well. So we've caught the Portuguese player with his pants down. It's 6 minutes. We've spotted that he's got a dock down south, but he's also got his food and his gold. So his gold is on the ground, and this is very, very awkward for the Portuguese player because he needs to be aging up as quickly as possible so that he can ship 5 dragoons. And if he doesn't get his age up in queue, he's not going to be able to ship 5 dragoons. So what we're going to do is we're going to idle him for as long as we can. If you're against a civilization like the British, they might be playing this a little bit differently. They might have put down Iraqs. They might have musketeers or pikes out. You're going to play that a little bit differently. But here, we're just going to idle him. We're going to idle for days. Until Minutemen get called, we are just going to sit here attacking the town center. Because every second that we sit here is a second longer that he is unable to age up. Like any good Portuguese player, he is going to have sent 700 coin, and he would have only mined exactly 300 coin, which means that he's popping out those settlers. He wants that coin badly. He calls Minutemen. That's how badly he wants that coin. He actually invests 150 coin in Minutemen so that he can gather that coin. So it means that he's now going to need to gather more coin for him to be able to go up. So now we're getting that steel traps. We're shipping 700 coin behind this. this, and we're really focusing on putting as much harassment into this player as we can. So in any matchup, we're going to be doing this exact same thing. It's not just the Portuguese. It's every single matchup that we're going to be doing it. And so now back home, we've got our own coin shipment. So when we're aging up, we're going to be aging up with the Exiled Prince. That's going to enable us to be aging up, hopefully around the 8 minutes 40, 8 minutes 50 mark. And as soon as we're up, we're going to start skirmisher production as well as our war wagon production. So with that 700 wood that we shipped, the idea is that we want to build a barracks with it. We want to build 3 houses with it. And depending on what build order we want to go, we can either research veteran Uhlans or we can build 2 more houses. So in this build order, because we're up against a Portuguese player, and I know that they're going to be going for Dragoons, I'm a lot more hesitant to be building Uhlans. I'm happy to build Uhlans in the second age because I know that he's not going to be able to counter them, and I've got nothing else to be building. I'm not going to be sending crossbows into his base. So I'm happy to pump Uhlans into it. But once I'm up, it's going to be different. I'm going to be investing most of my resources into skirmishes. I want to build up a solid mass of skirmishes. Ideally, I'd like to be pushing in with about 18 skirmishes. So that's the shipment of 8 skirmishes and then 10 skirmishes that I've made from my barracks. So we can see that the opponent has hit the Fortress Age. So for him to actually hit the Fortress Age, he needed to ship 600 coin. He wasn't able to do that without actually shipping 600 coin. So because he's aged up and we've got our Uhlans nice and close, the first thing we're doing, we're just running in and we're just going to try and take down that town center. He does call Minutemen at his second town center. It's a bit of a delay before he gets over here. But we're fortunately able to take down that town center. We're just doing a huge amount of damage here and find some villages. You know, we're having a field day as Germans. We're absolutely loving this. And so all we're doing is keeping the pressure on the enemy, and at the same time, we're building units. We've got our powerful Fortress Age shipments. We're getting 3 extra Uhlans for every single shipment. So we just shipped 8 skirms. So a normal civilization like the Dutch would only be getting 8 skirms. We've got 8 skirms and 3 Uhlans. That's a free 450 resources. So it's a very powerful timing that we're going to be pulling off here. So we're now researching the veteran Uhlans upgrade, and we're going to start targeting that dock. So fortunately, he didn't put his town center on top of the dock. It's a very common strategy that you'll see. Because there's no resources around the dock where he's placed it's not very wise for him to do that. So that was the correct decision. But the consequence of that is I can now burn this dock down for free. There's nothing he can do about it. Back at base, we continue producing skirmishes. We keep a small amount of settlers on wood, and the majority of our settlers and settler wagons on coin and food. We want to have a relatively close balance because we're going to be pumping out skirmishes and war wagons primarily. Once we've got our first group of war wagons, we're able to shift into Uhlans. But at the end of the day, it's more important that you balance your units around your macro. So if you're macroing poorly, then by all means build more Uhlans. If you're macroing well, build more war wagons. But your ideal composition is going to be a mix of all 3 units. And then the final card that we're shipping in is cavalry combat. So this is going to increase our Uhlans and our war wagons, their health and their attack by 15%, which is that's a massive amount. So our Uhlans have got 256 health. Our war wagons have got 575, so they go from 500 to 575. That's a massive boost, and it means that for units that have got such high damage, that 15% really sends it even higher. So he's only been able to gather about 10 dragoons, between 5 and 10 dragoons. We slowed him down immensely. We put him on tilt. He had been so focused on the pressure that we were applying to him, he missed a lot of shipments. So one of the shipments he wanted to send was 700 wood. He was unable to do that because as a German, I was putting so much pressure on him, he had to send 600 coin. And because he didn't send wood, he couldn't put up a stable straight away. And because he couldn't put up a stable straight away, he started to float resources. So just going over the game one more time, we're starting with 2 settler wagons, and then 3 settler wagons, and then 700 wood, then 700 coin. Once we've aged up, we're building our skirmisher mass. In transition, we're making sure that we idle the enemy as much as possible. It's really key that we do that and we prevent them from being able to get on their feet. If they're able to get on their feet, then they're able to face us in a fair fight. And we don't want a fair fight. We want an advantageous fight, always. We're the Germans. So the way that we do that is we make sure that we harass them. We keep them idle. We kill villagers. We burn buildings down if we have to. Normally we don't want to be burning buildings that are already built, only the ones that are being built, so we get that extra 4 times siege damage. But while our opponent wasn't able to put up the strongest fight against us, it's a credit to the extent of the power of this strategy. We were able to keep him idle for so long that it tilted him to the point where he had to call Minutemen. And because he called Minutemen, he had to ship 600 coin. Because he shipped 600 coin, it meant there was a whole raft of fallout. And that fallout is a result of our continued pressure on the opponent. We're able to hit them with a timing that we're absolutely comfortable with. We're in their base, we're having fun. And meanwhile, back at home, we're getting full batches out of our barracks, we're getting full batches out of our stables, and we're sending unit shipments from our home city. At this point in the definitive edition, the Germans are the most powerful civilization that there is, and the semi-fast fortress with early pressure, like the one that you've seen in this game, is the most powerful strategy with the Germans that you can do. I hope that you've enjoyed this video and been able to take something away from it. If you haven't already done so, I encourage you to head over to the Discord. We've got a lot of great resources on the Discord, including my deck picks, so if you're interested in seeing those, be sure to check them out. Other than that, thank you for watching.